Have you ever noticed that the harder you try to win someone's attention, the further away they seem to drift? You text them more, you call more often, you try to show them just how much you care, and yet paradoxically they grow colder, more distant, less responsive. It's as if the more energy you invest, the less valuable you appear. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people never want to admit. Attraction doesn't work the way we've been taught. Society tells us to chase, to prove ourselves, to always show effort. Movies glorify grand gestures, endless pursuit, the hero never giving up until the other person finally gives in. But in real life, human psychology doesn't follow that script. The reality is the exact opposite. When you stop pushing, when you step back, when you create space, that's when people suddenly become more drawn to you. Why? What's happening underneath the surface? Why does moving away, emotionally or even physically, make you more magnetic? Today, we're going to spend real time unpacking this. Because this isn't just a shallow dating trick. This is human psychology. This is deep Stoic wisdom. And once you understand it, it changes not only how others see you, but how you see yourself. So let's begin. Part 1. The Hidden Psychology of Attraction. Why pulling back works. Think about the world we live in. We are more connected than ever before. Text messages, social media, video calls, instant notifications. You can reach anyone at any time. Yet, paradoxically, people are lonelier, more insecure, more desperate for validation than at any point in history. You've probably seen it yourself. People sitting by their phones, obsessively checking if someone liked their post, replied to their story, or read their message. This constant chase for attention isn't connection, it's dependency. And dependency kills attraction. Why? Because when you show someone that your emotional state depends on them, on their response, on their validation, you communicate something very specific. I don't have control over myself. I need you to make me feel worthy. The human brain is wired to pick up on this. We sense neediness, and instead of finding it flattering, it makes us recoil. It feels suffocating, heavy, draining. Nobody is drawn to someone who says through their actions, I cannot be okay without you. Now here's where Stoicism steps in. The Stoics taught us that the only true power we have is over ourselves, our actions, our thoughts, our emotions. Everything else, including other people's attention or affection, is beyond our control. And when you live in that truth, you stop chasing what isn't yours to control. Instead, you focus inward. You build independence, self-sufficiency, calmness. You become the source of your own value. And here's the paradox. When you stop needing people, they start needing you. When you create emotional distance, you signal strength. You silently communicate, I am whole on my own. I enjoy your company, but I don't depend on it. And that signal is irresistible. Let's make this real. Imagine 2 scenarios. In the first, you meet someone and immediately they start showering you with attention. They text constantly, they compliment you over and over, they want to spend every waking moment with you. At first, it might feel flattering, but very quickly it feels too much. You begin to lose interest. Now imagine the second scenario. You meet someone who's kind, warm, present, but not overbearing. They respond, but not instantly. They enjoy spending time with you. But they also have their own life, their own passions, their own sense of independence. You start to wonder, what are they doing when they're not with me? That curiosity builds. That scarcity creates desire. This is the psychology of attraction. People don't value what is endlessly available. They value what they could lose. But let's expand even deeper, because this isn't just about romantic relationships. This principle is everywhere. Think about friendships. Have you ever noticed that when you stop always being the one to initiate plans, suddenly your friends start reaching out more? Or think about work. The colleague who's always saying yes, always available, always picking up the slack over time. Their efforts get taken for granted. but the colleague who knows how to set boundaries, who isn't always instantly available. That's the person whose time gets respected. Scarcity creates value, always. Now, let me slow down here, because some people misunderstand this principle. Creating distance is not about manipulation. It's not about playing hard to get or pretending you don't care. It's about genuinely valuing your own presence, your own energy, your own time. It's about realizing that you don't need to prove your worth to anyone. That shift, when it's authentic, changes everything, because people can sense the difference between someone who's playing a game and someone who genuinely lives in self-sufficiency. When it's authentic, it radiates a calm, grounded confidence, and that's magnetic. So what does this mean for you practically? It means that the next time you feel the urge to overextend, pause. The next time you want to send that 10th text with no reply, stop. The next time you want to always be available at someone else's convenience, remember your value. This is the beginning of the journey we're going to take together in this video. Over the next hour, we'll go step by step through the 9 psychological triggers that explain why moving away makes you more attractive. We'll explore emotional distance, detachment, scarcity, self-sufficiency, timing, mystery, emotional restraint, calmness, and finally, the ultimate power of stepping back. But for now, let this first lesson sink in. Attraction isn't about chasing harder. It isn't about proving your worth to others. It's about embodying the truth that you are already enough. When you stop trying to be chosen, you start to become the choice. Take a deep breath, feel that, and remember, the moment you stop needing people is the moment they start chasing you. When you strip away the illusions of modern dating, relationships, even friendships, you'll notice something powerful. The person who needs less always attracts more. This is the essence of detachment. And detachment doesn't mean you don't care, or that you're cold, or that you're unfeeling. No, detachment means that your inner world is not chained to someone else's actions. It means you don't rise and fall based on a text message, a like, or whether someone pays attention to you today. Think about it. Why do so many people chase validation? Because they've tied their sense of worth to how others see them. They've made external approval their oxygen. And when you need someone else for oxygen, you're already suffocating. Detachment flips this script. It says, I breathe on my own. I am whole without you. I can enjoy your presence, but I don't collapse in your absence. That's what makes you magnetic. Because here's the paradox. When you no longer desperately need someone, that's when they crave you most. Now, let's get practical. How do you cultivate detachment in your daily life? First, shift your focus inward. Instead of asking, do they like me? Do they notice me? Ask yourself, do I respect me? Am I building a life that excites me? Because when you are deeply invested in your own growth, your own hobbies, your own path, you naturally detach from the fear of losing others. Why? Because your life is already full. Second, practice emotional discipline. Don't rush to respond the moment you feel a wave of longing or fear of abandonment. Let the emotion rise. Sit with it. Breathe into it. Detachment grows in the space between stimulus and response. That space is where your power lies. Third, limit overexposure. When you flood someone with constant attention, constant messaging, constant availability, you drown them in your presence. But when you hold back, when you allow time and silence, you give space for curiosity to grow, and curiosity is the seed of attraction. There's also a deeper psychological layer here. Human beings are wired to value what is scarce, what is uncertain. When someone is detached, not cold, but calm and grounded, they project uncertainty. They don't make it obvious that they're always available or always invested, and uncertainty drives interest. The mind begins to ask, what are they thinking? What are they doing? Why aren't they chasing me? That's when fascination grows. Detachment also communicates power. Not dominance over others, but mastery over yourself. A detached man or woman is dangerous in the best way possible. They can walk away. They're not enslaved by fear of rejection. They know their value, and because they don't beg, they attract. Let me give you an example. Imagine two men pursuing the same woman. One is constantly texting, overanalyzing, eager, desperate for a reply. The other enjoys her company, but if she doesn't respond, he simply goes back to his life, his gym, his work, his passions. Which one do you think she thinks about more? The answer is obvious. And it's not just romance. Detachment makes you magnetic in business, in friendships, in negotiations. A client senses when you're desperate for a deal and they use it against you. But when you don't cling, when you're willing to walk away, you hold the leverage. That's detachment in action. So ask yourself, where in your life are you clinging too tightly? Where are you making someone else's approval the anchor of your self-worth? Start loosening the grip. Remind yourself daily, I am enough. I am whole. Their presence is a gift, not my lifeline. That energy, that calm, powerful detachment is irresistible. People will lean in. They'll wonder why you don't need them. And in that wondering, attraction grows. Scarcity is one of the most powerful forces in human psychology. It shapes our decisions, drives our desires, and determines what we value. People don't crave what's everywhere. They crave what's rare. And when it comes to attraction, romantic or social, the law of scarcity is undefeated. Let's break this down. Imagine a world where gold is as common as sand. Would anyone treasure it? No. It's valuable because it's scarce. Now replace gold with your attention, your time, your energy. If you give it away endlessly, to anyone, at any time, it loses its value. But when you ration it, when you treat your energy like gold, others begin to see it for what it truly is, priceless. Here's the trap most people fall into. They think more presence equals more attraction. If I text more, call more, show up more, they'll want me more. Wrong. Too much presence suffocates. Too much access breeds boredom. Too much availability kills mystery. But when you strategically give less, you ignite desire. You see, scarcity triggers the fear of loss, and human beings hate losing more than they love gaining. If someone senses that your attention isn't guaranteed, that your time isn't unlimited, suddenly they wake up. They lean in. They start chasing what they took for granted. Think of the last time you almost lost something important. Maybe a relationship. Maybe an opportunity. Notice how your attention spiked the moment you felt it slipping away. That's scarcity at work. Now, let's apply this. How can you create scarcity in a natural, authentic way? Step 1. Stop overgiving. Stop pouring out endless validation, endless effort, endless energy, especially to people who don't reciprocate. Value must be exchanged, not one-sided. Step 2. Master your availability. If you're always free, you send a silent message. I have nothing better to do. But when you guard your time, when you're selective, when you sometimes say, no, I can't right now, you communicate value. You show that your time is a resource, not a cheap giveaway. Step 3. Create silence and absence. If someone is used to constant attention, pulling back even a little creates space. That space breeds curiosity. That curiosity grows into desire. The silence you give becomes louder than any words you could have spoken. Now, understand this. Scarcity is not about playing games. It's not about manipulation. It's about living a life so full, so purposeful, that you naturally don't have endless time to hand out. It's about building a reality where your attention truly is rare, because you're busy improving yourself, chasing goals, living fully. Here's where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics believed in focusing only on what you can control, and not wasting your energy on what you cannot. When you live by this, your energy becomes precious. You no longer scatter it everywhere. You invest it wisely, and that natural discipline makes you scarce. Another layer, Scarcity elevates appreciation. Think about seasonal fruit when it's only available once a year. People line up for it. The same applies to you. When your presence isn't constant, when your energy isn't free-flowing 24/7, people treasure it more. Let me give you a story. A man spends months chasing a woman. He's always available, always texting, always trying to prove his worth. She pulls back. She feels smothered. Then, one day, he stops. He focuses on himself. He hits the gym, works on his goals, builds new hobbies. His energy shifts. He becomes less available not out of spite, but because he's busy living. Suddenly, she feels it. She notices the silence. She starts reaching out. Why? Because scarcity woke her up. That's the paradox. When you flood someone with attention, they take you for granted. When you pull back, they realize what they lost. And the truth is, it's not about making them want you. It's about respecting your value enough that you don't hand it out cheaply. So, I'll ask you, where are you too available? Where are you making your presence common, your energy ordinary? And how can you create scarcity, not as a tactic, but as a natural result of building a meaningful life? Because when you become scarce in the right way, you become priceless, and people will always chase what they fear they can't easily have. There's a truth most people ignore. Nothing is more attractive, more magnetic, more unshakable than self-sufficiency. Think about it. The world is full of people searching for someone to complete them, to save them, to fill the gaps they refuse to fill themselves. But the moment you become the kind of person who doesn't need saving, who doesn't need constant reassurance, you stand out, you shine differently, you radiate strength. Self-sufficiency is not isolation. It's not saying, I don't need anyone, ever. That's arrogance, and that usually hides insecurity. True self-sufficiency is deeper. It's the quiet confidence of knowing, I can stand on my own 2 feet. I can enjoy love, companionship, friendship, but I don't collapse without it. Why does this matter? Because dependency kills attraction. When you cling to someone for validation, when your happiness is tethered to their actions, you hand them control over your life. You give them power they should never hold, and power imbalances always destroy connection. But when you're self-sufficient, you flip that dynamic. You don't need someone to feed your soul, you invite them to share it. You don't look to others for your identity, you bring a full, complete identity to the table, and that energy changes everything. Here's what self-sufficiency looks like in practice. 1. Financial independence. Money doesn't buy love, but financial instability breeds dependence and desperation. When you handle your own resources, when you're capable of providing for yourself, you project stability, and stability is deeply attractive. 2. Emotional regulation. Most people are tossed around by their feelings like leaves in the wind. But a self-sufficient person develops emotional discipline. They feel emotions fully, but they don't let emotions dictate destructive actions. That calm presence becomes a magnetic anchor for others. 3. A fulfilling life outside of relationships. Self-sufficient people don't make one person their entire world. They have passions, hobbies, goals, communities. They invest in themselves. And that richness makes their presence desirable because they're not clinging, they're sharing. 4. The ability to walk away. Self-sufficiency gives you leverage. You're not bound by fear of being alone. You know you'll be fine regardless. And that makes others treat you differently because they sense you won't tolerate mistreatment. Now, let's go deeper. Why do humans find independence so magnetic? Because it signals strength. On a primal level, people are drawn to those who can survive, who can thrive, who can stand tall in chaos. Dependence signals weakness, fragility. Independence signals resilience, power. It's a survival instinct. But here's the beautiful paradox. When you don't need others, you actually form healthier connections. Why? Because you're not attaching from lack, you're connecting from abundance. You're not clinging out of fear, you're choosing freely because you want to. not because you must. That's the energy people feel. That's why independence is irresistible. Let me give you a real-world story. Two friends. One is always needy, constantly calling, constantly asking for reassurance, always needing company, because they can't handle being alone. The other? He enjoys friendship, but he's also fine by himself. He travels solo, works on his projects, enjoys his hobbies. Guess which friend people are drawn to? The one who chooses company, not the one who begs for it. In relationships, the same principle holds. A self-sufficient partner doesn't pressure, doesn't demand constant validation. They inspire. They lead by example. Their presence says, "I am whole. I am fulfilled. You are welcome to join my journey, but I'll keep walking regardless." Now, does this mean you should shut people out and never rely on anyone? No. Even the strongest oak tree is nourished by the soil around it. But here's the difference. The oak doesn't cling to every passing vine for support. It draws strength from within, and as a result, it provides shelter and strength to others. So ask yourself, where in your life are you leaning too heavily on others? Where are you outsourcing your happiness, your security, your sense of worth? Start reclaiming that power. Build your foundation. Become your own source of validation, fulfillment, and stability. Because here's the truth. People don't fall in love with dependency. They fall in love with strength. They fall in love with presence. They fall in love with someone who doesn't need them, but who chooses them. And when you embody self-sufficiency, you stop chasing. People start chasing you. One of the most underrated forces in attraction, in influence, even in leadership, is timing, and even more powerful than words is silence. The way you use your words, your pauses, your presence can either pull people closer or push them away. Let's face it, most people today live in a state of over-communication, constant texting, constant posting, constant updates. It's like they fear silence, like they think if they don't keep talking, they'll be forgotten. But here's the paradox. Silence often speaks louder than any word you could say. Think about the last time someone didn't reply immediately. Did you feel a little pull? Did your mind start wondering what they were doing? Why they hadn't answered yet? That curiosity, that tension, that's the power of silence. Now, timing is not about playing games. It's about understanding rhythm. Every interaction has a rhythm, like music. And if you rush it, if you overfill it, you ruin the song. But if you know when to pause, when to wait, when to step back, you create harmony. Here's how this plays out in real life. 1. Don't rush your responses. You don't need to reply instantly to every message. Take your time. Live your life. When you respond thoughtfully, instead of instantly, you show that you value your own time. You project calmness instead of neediness. 2. Let silence do the heavy lifting. After you've made a point, don't rush to fill the air. Let the words sink in. In conversations, especially deep ones, silence can create intensity. It gives the other person space to process, and it shows you're not desperate to over-explain. 3. Control the pace. When you slow things down, you prevent the interaction from burning out too quickly. Quick flames die fast. Slow burns last. Timing creates that slow burn of attraction and interest. There's a psychological truth here. People value what they wait for. If everything is instant, everything is cheap. But when there's a pause, when there's space, when there's anticipation, the value skyrockets. Take movies as an example. Imagine if a thriller revealed the twist in the first 5 minutes. Nobody would care. It's the build-up, the waiting, the silence before the reveal that hooks you. In communication, timing creates the same suspense. Now, let's tie this to Stoicism. The Stoics practiced the art of restraint, not reacting impulsively, not rushing to speak. They believed that wisdom lived in the pause. That space between stimulus and response is where you choose power over weakness. When you master that, you master timing. Here's a practical exercise. The next time you feel the urge to reply instantly, pause, breathe, ask yourself, am I responding out of discipline or out of fear of being forgotten? That awareness changes everything. Silence is also a filter. When you stop over-explaining, oversharing, over-chasing, you see who leans in. The ones who value you will fill the silence. The ones who don't will drift away. And that's clarity. I'll give you a real-life story. A man once told me he used to text his partner every hour, checking in, trying to keep her interested, but she grew distant. When he finally stopped over-communicating and started focusing on his own life, she suddenly leaned back in. She started texting first. Why? Because the silence created contrast. She noticed the absence. Timing gave his presence value again. Silence also builds respect. In arguments, the one who stays calm, who doesn't rush to shout back, usually holds the power. The loudest person rarely wins. It's the one who waits, who chooses their words carefully, who commands the room. So here's the challenge. Stop fearing silence. Stop fearing delays. Timing isn't about indifference. It's about strength. It's about showing you're not enslaved by urgency, by fear, by the need to fill every second. When you master timing and silence, you become unpredictable. You create mystery. You spark curiosity, and curiosity is the fuel of attraction. Because in a world where everyone is loud, the quiet one becomes unforgettable. We've talked about emotional distance, detachment, scarcity, self-sufficiency, timing, and silence. Now we bring it all together, the energy of mystery, the discipline of emotional restraint, and the irresistible aura of calm presence. Let's start with mystery. People are not attracted to what they fully understand. They're attracted to what they almost understand, what keeps them guessing. Mystery is not about pretending or lying. It's not about creating a fake image. True mystery is simply not revealing everything at once. Think about your favorite book or movie. If the ending was spoiled in the first 5 minutes, would you still care? No. The suspense, the gradual reveal, the unknown, that's what keeps you hooked. Humans are wired for curiosity, and when you maintain a sense of mystery in your life, people lean in. They wonder, what else is there to this person? What haven't I discovered yet? Mystery is created when you share enough to connect, but not so much that you remove all intrigue. It's created when you live a life rich in layers, hobbies, passions, goals, friendships that aren't all on display. You're not broadcasting everything. You're inviting people to earn deeper access. Now, emotional restraint. Most people overexpose their emotions. They react impulsively, reveal too much too soon, wear their desperation on their sleeves. And what happens? The other person loses interest. Why? Because when you give away your full emotional range instantly, you leave nothing for discovery. Emotional restraint doesn't mean being cold. It doesn't mean shutting down your feelings. It means having mastery over them. It means choosing when, how, and to whom you reveal deeper layers. It means responding, not reacting. For example, when someone tries to provoke you, do you explode or do you stay calm? When you feel jealousy, do you lash out or do you breathe and observe before acting? That restraint communicates power. It tells others, this person is not ruled by chaos. They have control over themselves, and true inner control is magnetic. Finally, let's talk about calm presence. In a noisy world, calmness is rare. Everyone is rushing, panicking, over-explaining, oversharing. But the one who enters the room with stillness, with confidence, with peace, that person stands out instantly. Calm presence is the natural result of everything we've discussed. Detachment frees you from desperation. Scarcity gives weight to your presence. Self-sufficiency anchors you in independence. Timing and silence make your words powerful. And mystery keeps people intrigued. When you embody all of this, you radiate calm strength. You don't need to shout to be noticed. You don't need to beg to be loved. People feel your energy, and they're drawn to it. Here's the paradox. When you stop trying so hard to be attractive, when you stop chasing validation, when you stop giving everything away, you become attractive. You become the flame, not the moth. Think of the ocean. Calm on the surface, yet deep, powerful, unstoppable beneath. That's the presence you're aiming for. Calm, but unshakable. Gentle, but commanding. Still, but magnetic. So let's end with this. If you want to become more attractive when you move physically, emotionally, or spiritually, remember this journey. Create distance when needed. Detach from what you cannot control. Protect your energy with scarcity. Build self-sufficiency so strong that you never cling. Master timing. Embrace silence. Cultivate mystery. And practice emotional restraint. And above all, be calm. Be still. Be grounded in your own worth. Because the truth is this: when you no longer need to chase, you become the one others chase. When you no longer beg for presence, your absence becomes unforgettable. And when you stand in calm strength, the world cannot help but lean closer. That is the Stoic path. That is the magnetic life. That is how you rise without chasing, without forcing, without fear.